Hello and welcome to CSCE465 Computer and Network Security. I'm your professor this semester, Jeff Miller. And to start off today, I have a couple questions just to get you to start thinking about computer security and network security. And we'll go over these questions later in the lecture, but just start thinking about them. What do you think is meant by the term security? Think of this in a general sense, not related specifically to computers or network, which is what is meant by the word security in a physical sense even. And then we'll relate this directly to network security and talk about computers and networking and what we will be discussing for the rest of this semester. Today I'm going to go over my background. We'll talk about the syllabus for the class, and then I will give you a brief introduction. This class is being taught online this semester, and so you will have multiple videos each week. I'm going to try to keep the videos somewhat short, between 30 to 60 minutes. You'll have one recorded lecture a week, which will be up to about an hour or so. And I expect as we are going through the lecture that you may need to pause it at times if you want to think about something, take some notes, and so on. So feel free to pause it. All of the videos are going to be posted on YouTube, so you will be able to go back and refer to them as often as you'd like. You'll also be able to pause them and use all of the features that YouTube has available for you. I'm going to be recording just one lecture, or breaking it down into two lectures. It'll be about an hour a week of recorded video. And the second part of the week is going to be focused on you posting to a discussion board. We'll talk about that in just a second. So for those of you that have never taken a class with me, I did my bachelor's, master's, and doctorate in computer engineering and computer science from the University of Southern California. I used to just say that I did it at USC until I had a student in one of my classes right when I came up here asked me why I kept talking about Los Angeles in Southern California when I went to the University of South Carolina. So I decided to fix that and say that I went to the University of Southern California to clear up any misconceptions there. I moved to Alaska in 2007 for the position here at UAA. Before that, while I was working on my PhD in LA, I was teaching undergraduate computer science courses at Cal State LA, and I did that for 5 years. And I also have worked in industry, been a consultant since 2000. I got into the programming world during the dot-com days. It was a nice time to be a programmer. There was a lot of money, a lot of companies, a lot of interest in people working as programmers. So I was able to jump around from job to job. I changed jobs approximately once a year for my first few years of working. Got a lot of experience, worked at a startup company, at a large manufacturing company, at a large telecommunication corporation, and then decided that I liked the small to mid-sized companies better. I went back to work for them, and while I was working working on my bachelor's degree, I realized that I really like teaching, and I like teaching at the college level. So it took a PhD to be able to become a professor. I got into working on my doctorate, and I enjoyed all of the research I was doing also, and decided that this was the career for me. I like also being able to consult and work with industry. I do try to keep ties with a lot of different companies and work on some consulting projects just so that I can keep my skills sharp and hopefully be better able to transmit the material to you from what's actually happening in the real world. My research is in software engineering, networking, and algorithms, specifically related to intelligent transportation systems. You're going to hear a little bit about my research throughout the course of this semester. There is security that has to go on, especially with vehicles. Vehicular security is very important because if we have communication to vehicles from outside of the vehicle, it's very, very important that the driver still has ultimate control over the car, and that some outside influence isn't going to be able to take over control and then possibly do something malicious. We would be dealing with people's lives, not just the driver or the occupants of that vehicle, but also the other vehicles that are around or anyone else that happens to be around that vehicle. So security is a very, very important part of vehicular networks. And we'll talk about that when we get to some topics on vehicular networking in this class. And of course, you'll learn all kinds of things about me from listening to my lectures. I'll talk about my own experience, hopefully give you a little bit of insight. If you are going to become a programmer, if you're going to go into some kind of an engineering field, all engineering fields are going to have to work with programmers and work with other engineers. So even if computer and network security is not going to be the area in which you focus, you will have to deal with people, and of course you'll have a lot of network security in your own networks at home that you'll need to implement, and you'll learn all about those topics in this class as well. Here is a description of what we're going to cover in this class. We're going to go over computers and network security, types of network attacks, ways that we can defend against them, firewalls, virtual private networks, virus scanners, network intrusion detection. These are some interesting pieces of software that can hopefully detect when a network intrusion is occurring so that you can combat it in real time as opposed to waiting until after the fact and trying to figure out how you're going to make sure it doesn't happen again. And then we'll talk a lot about some real world industry problems, things that have arisen in banking applications and in nuclear security, private security, and so on. The grading criteria for the class, you're going to have a discussion board posting every week. It's going to be worth 25% of your final grade. The way that that's going to be graded is that you will have to respond by Wednesday of each week to the discussion board post that I put up. Every student needs to respond to that, and then you are going to have to reply to 2 of your classmates by Saturday of each week. Since this is an online class, this is the way that I'm going to try to encourage collaboration among all of your fellow classmates, as well as myself, who will be monitoring the discussion boards and also responding to a number of the posts throughout the week as well. So you'll need to respond to the initial post by Wednesday of each week, and then you'll have to reply to at least 2 of your classmates by Saturday of that same week. You're going to have 2 projects in this class. Each one is going to be worth 15% of your final grade. We're not going to be working on the projects quite yet this early in the semester, and I will post a lecture explaining exactly what the projects are as we get closer to when those will be. You're going to have approximately 1 month or so for each project, though, to work on that. The midterm is 20% of your final grade, and the final exam will be 25% of your final grade. The grading scale for the class, I use a straight 10% scale. However, I bring the A range down to the 85 to 100 and then go 10% for the grades below that. This is going to be your grading scale if the average in the class is higher than a 75%. If the average in the class happens to be lower than a 75%, that will become the cutoff between a B and a C. Grading is one of my least favorite parts of being a professor. I don't like that students get so caught up in grades each semester trying to get an A and work so hard to get it. The way that I look at this is that if you're learning the material, then you're going to do well in the class. So just make sure that you're staying up on the material, you're doing the work, you're reading the papers, you're doing the projects, and you'll do very well in the class. Typically, in my classes, I have over 70% of the students earn a B or an A. However, during the semester and when they take exams, students often say that there is a lot of work and the exams are difficult, very challenging in my classes. But for the most part, if you work hard, you're going to do well in the class and you're going to get a good grade. I say this every semester also, that if everyone in the class gets over an 85%, I would have no problem giving everyone in the class an A. Hopefully this will be the semester that I actually get to do that. Here is an outline of what we are going to cover. I have the numbers that I have on the left side of each topic are the weeks. Since we will only have 1 recorded lecture each week, I am going to put, if there's more than 1 topic there, they will be included in the same lecture, or I will split them up. But those topics will take up a 1-hour lecture each week. So you can see this week, week number 1, we have an introduction, the network security overview, and then I'll start talking about the types of security attacks and services. Next week, since it's a shortened week, we have symmetric encryption, and then after that we'll go over asymmetric encryption, recent threats and attacks, and so on. I have 1 project day scheduled in there in week 6. This is so that you can get together with your classmates if you need to talk about the project, and I also will explain what the project is that week, so that you can get started working on that. The midterm is going to be in week 7, and the final exam you see is in week 15. The books for the class. We have 2 books for the class. Both of them are written primarily by William Stallings. Great author. Some of you may be familiar with some of his books in operating systems and networks also. I really like it. It's easy to read. He's a very clear author. So I've required those 2 books for this class. The books are going to be used as reference. If you would prefer not to buy them, that is your choice. I'm not going to be assigning anything directly from the books. However, I think these are great books. The lecture material that I am going to be presenting is going to be coming from these books primarily, also pulling from a lot of papers, and you'll see that I have a lot of papers posted on the website already also. So I would recommend picking these up. These are great books, good reference material to read. Let me pull up here the website. Here is UAA's bookstore. You can see that both of the books are available there. The new price for the computer security book is $131.50, and the new price for the network security essentials is $96.90. I just did a quick search for the ISBN on Amazon. The computer security book new is $78.21, and the network security essentials book is $86.33. So you can pick them up from wherever you want there. They are available in the bookstore, and you also see that they are available online as well. Okay, the homework for this class, you may think that it looks like there's not very much homework that's going to be required in this class because you have your discussion board posting each week. You have the 2 projects that you'll be working on in the middle of the semester, and then you have the lectures to watch in the midterm and the final. However, if you want to get the most out of this class and if you want to do well on the exams and the projects, it's going to be very important that you read the papers that I have posted. I would strongly recommend that you read the papers that I have posted for each lecture before the presentation. Obviously, this first week is accepted. But other than that, I would say that you want to read those papers ahead of time because it'll give you a much better understanding of the presentation of what I'm talking about. There are going to be somewhere around 3 to 5 papers posted a week, and the papers are usually between 6 to 10 pages long. My recommendation for reading papers is that you read the abstract, read through a little bit of the introduction just to get an idea of what the author is trying to convey, and then jump down to the conclusion and find out what the conclusions, what the author has concluded. At that point, you can then decide if you need to read through the middle of the paper and find out the details as to how the author came up with those conclusions, or if you think that maybe you've gotten enough out of the paper at that point. There's no way that in an hour lecture that I can cover all 5 papers in thorough depth as well as give you an overview of what the topic is for the week. So you're definitely going to have to read the papers yourself so that you can get a more thorough and better understanding of the material that we cover in the class. The papers are all research papers. They all are going to have been peer-reviewed and published in conference journals, magazines, and so some of them may be a little difficult to understand. With this being a 400 level class though, and some of you may be looking to go on to grad school after this, it's going to be important that you start being able to understand research papers and read through them. It may be a little difficult throughout the beginning of the semester, but I think that you'll start to get the hang of it and grasp the papers more and more as the semester goes on. The discussion board posting, I mentioned this a little bit. Here's a slide explaining it a little bit more. Part of your grade, you're going to have to respond to the discussion board. These are going to be posted in Blackboard, so I'll show you how to log into Blackboard in just a second and how to get to the discussion board. You'll have to post something by Wednesday of each week, and then you'll have to respond to at least 2 of your classmates by Saturday of that same week, and that's how you'll receive full credit. I'm not putting a number of word requirement down on the discussion boards for how much you need to write. However, I am just saying that the post must be substantive in nature. So I'm not expecting it to be 1 or 2 sentences. I'm expecting you to probably have a couple paragraphs responding to the initial post, and then at least 1 or 2 maybe replying to at least 2 other students' posts. If you want to guess of how long I'm expecting this to take, I'm thinking the initial post is going to take you somewhere between 30 to 60 minutes because you might need to look some things up before you reply. and then each reply should take you somewhere around 20 to 30 minutes to reply. So you can maybe budget your time accordingly and figure out about how long I'm expecting those to be. I will be responding to the discussion boards as well. I'll be monitoring everything on there. Note that the discussion boards are public and all of the students in the class are going to be able to read what you write, and it's important that the other students do read what you write. The only reason I bring that up is in case there's going to be something that you need to talk to me personally about. Do not post it in the discussion board since that is a public forum. Instead, you'll want to email that to me if you don't want the other members of the class to be able to see what you're writing to me. Okay, the projects for the course, you're going to have 2 projects. Each one was 15% of your final grade, and we'll discuss those when it gets a little bit closer to the start of them. I'll post a separate lecture explaining the project specifically and what I'm expecting out of them, and going over them in detail. If you still have questions after that, then you can get in touch with me. We can set up a time to meet, Skype, or talk over the phone to clarify anything that you have. The projects are going to require programming, hardware configuration, software configuration, documentation. So if you haven't taken a programming class in a little while, you may want to buff up on your skills. I'm not going to require you to use a specific language. Most of you are probably skilled in either C, C++, or Java, so you can choose that. If you want to choose a different programming language, that is fine with me as well. So I'm not going to put a language requirement on the projects. The midterm and the final exam dates are posted in the syllabus. I'll move over to the syllabus in just a second and show you those dates. Since this is a distance course, you will need to sign up with the DES office to take the exams during the weeks that are posted on the syllabus. DES recommends that you set up an exact time for the exam by calling them as soon as possible in the semester, because they have limited space, and all courses that are distance and that are having DES administer the exams will give the midterms and the finals during the same week. So give them a call at that number, and you can set up when you want to go take your midterm and your final. It's not going to be a set time. You're going to get to set the time yourself sometime during the week of the midterm and the final. So you see the number there, 907-786-1730. The prerequisites for this class, CSCE465, which is our computer networking for engineers. It now has a new number, which is CSCE465. That is essentially the same class, so either one of those would work as a prerequisite. Or if you have an equivalent class, equivalent material, then you can come and talk to me about that also. As long as you have a basic understanding of networking, the OSI model, and routers, hubs, switches, and so on, the networking hardware, Ethernet, wireless, and so on, then you should be fine in this class, although we aren't going to be necessarily going back and reviewing that material. So if it has been a little while since you've taken that, you may need to go back and review that material a little bit so that you can get up to speed on some of the topics that we will discuss here. Academic integrity. I'm sure that during the first week of any class that you take in college, you're going to talk about academic integrity. I take this seriously. I think that cheating is not caught frequently enough in college environments, so I do take it seriously, and if you cheat on any assignment, project, exam, anything in the class, you will get an F in the class, and I will report you to the proper academic organizations. I don't like doing this, but unfortunately, in all of my years of teaching, I actually have probably had one student a semester at least who has tried to cheat on something. And it's usually on an assignment when they just aren't able to get it done by the deadline, and then they just take the work from somebody else. Unfortunately, that involves 2 students at that point, and so then 2 students have to suffer the consequences of that. If you have a question on whether something is acceptable or not, just ask me ahead of time. Anything that you find online, if you find some code online that seems like it's going to work for the assignment or the project or whatever you're doing, you are welcome to use it as long as it is not copywritten and as long as you give credit to the author. So if you find something on a website, just make sure that you cite it and you give credit to whoever actually wrote it. I do encourage you to work with other classmates, to talk with them. However, when it comes time to actually do the assignment, sit down by yourself and make sure you're not looking over someone else's shoulder or someone's not sitting there telling you exactly what to do. At that point, then I think that you probably will be fine and not violate any of our academic integrity principles. So here is the website for the class. We are going to be using Blackboard also. I'll show you that in just a second here. My website, jmiller.uaa.alaska.edu, and then there's a link for CSCE465. So let me switch over to that right now and show you our course website. Okay, so here is my personal website here at UAA. My office is in the engineering building, room 227B. My office phone number is 786-1047. My email address, jeffrey.miller@ieee.org. This semester, since I'm teaching the classes online, I'm not going to hold any set office hours. However, I am very accessible via email. We can set up a time to meet either via Skype. We can talk on the phone, we can meet in person, and of course I'll respond to emails very quickly also, so feel free to send me an email also if you need to get together for something or if you have any questions. Okay, if you click on CSCE465 right here, that'll take you to our web page for this class. Our meeting times, we don't have any in-person meeting times. They're going to be online, one lecture per week. And if you click on lectures here, you can see that I already have a lot of papers posted. I already have slides posted also. I have taught the class in the past. I will be updating the slides before the lecture, but this kind of gives you an idea of what we're going to be covering in each lecture. I will be updating them, so if you do print them ahead of time, they might change by the time that I give the lecture, but by the time that I do give the lecture, the slides that are on the website will be the ones by which I will be going over during the lecture. So in this lecture page here, you see that I have a date here. I have the week number and I have a date on the first lecture. That's going to be the start of that week. So I will post here on this page, right over here in another column, I'm going to be posting the videos for each one of those lectures. Okay. Assignments, this is where your projects will be assigned. You see that your first project is not yet assigned. These are the assignments that I've given in the past, so I posted those just for your reference right now. Do not start working on those yet. Wait until I give the video lecture on those projects, but that probably gives you a decent idea of what to expect for them, so you can start thinking about them now. Okay, let me show you now logging into Blackboard and your discussion board. So if we go to, the best way that I know to get to Blackboard, just go to uaa.alaska.edu, and there's a link right here that says Blackboard. So I'll go ahead and click on Blackboard, and you'll log in with your username and password. Obviously you don't know my password, so it's not going to do you any good to log in with my username there. And then once you're in here, if this is not the screen that you see, if you click on UAA, you should see all of the courses in which you're registered, and then click on CSCE465. And that'll take you to our course webpage. So here I'm going to provide, I'll try to give an announcement each week about what to expect, give you an introduction to what the lecture is going to be about that week, and let you know if there's any due dates coming up or midterms or final or anything like that. If you click Contact Instructor, this will give you my contact information right here. There's my email address, phone number, office, and so on, webpage. The syllabus, we'll go over that in just one second. If you click on Tools, though, and then click Discussion Board, this is where you can get to your discussion board. Here's the week 1 discussion board. We've already had a few students, 13 total posts and 6 participants who have answered this question already. And so I'm just asking you for week 1, provide an introduction to yourself, what year you are in school, your major, anything else you want the class to know, and then what are you hoping to learn in this class? Why did you choose this as an elective, or are you interested in this course more than just as a requirement or elective? Some of the majors that we have require this class, like computer systems engineering, and other majors have it as an elective. So I just want you to provide a little bit of information as to why you chose this class, what are you interested, what are you hoping to get out of it. The future discussion board postings are going to be more technical. So you'll be able to, you'll need to look things up online, possibly read the book and provide a little bit more technical insight to some of the questions. This is just a nice introduction one for our first week though. Okay, let's jump to the syllabus now and go over that. Okay, so here's our syllabus for the course. You can get to this just by clicking on the syllabus link in Blackboard. I also have it posted on the course website off of my personal page, jmiller.uaa.alaska.edu. My email address is jeffrey.miller@ieee.org. That's the primary one that I use. I also have a UAA email address that I provide you there, jmiller@uaa.alaska.edu. The course webpage, I already showed you how to get to that, my office hours, class section, and so on. Okay, since this is an online class, we obviously don't have any classroom. We're just going to have the online lectures. And if you need to set up an appointment with me, the best way to get in touch with me is to send me an email, and then we can set up a time. If you want to Skype with me, we can do that. If you want to talk on the phone, or if you need to meet in person, we can do that. I'm very available, so any day we can set something up as long as we just set an appointment. The textbooks, we already talked about both of those. I have those listed here in the syllabus. Description of the class we went over. There's your grading criteria with the grading scale. There's a list of all of the lectures, again, that we saw. And here are your exam dates. So the midterm is going to be taken during the week of October 7th through 12th. And then the final will be taken during the week of December 2nd through 7th. So call DES, the number is right there on the syllabus again, 907-786-1730, and set up when you are going to go take the midterm and the final during those periods. The exams are mostly going to consist of written questions, theoretical questions. They will be open book, open note, open internet. The restrictions that I put on the exams is that you cannot have any other people helping you. That would include no sending of emails, no posting on discussion boards, no chatting, no texting. No other people will be able to help you during the exam. However, you would be able to use the internet, you'd be able to Google for things, you can use any resources, notes, you can use the course website, and all of that will be fair game. For those of you, if you've never taken an exam that is open internet, you may become a little complacent studying for the exam, and I strongly discourage you from doing that. You may think, oh, well, I'm a tremendous Googler, so I don't really need to study much. I'll be able to look up the answers to all of these questions during the exam. The problem is that you won't be able to. The questions that I give on the exams are not memorization questions. I'm not going to ask you what OSI stands for. I understand you can probably look that up on Google within 10 seconds if you don't already know off the top of your head. They're going to be more thought-provoking questions, and you're going to have to really understand the material to be able to answer the questions. So, in my opinion, I think that with open book, open note, open internet exams, you possibly even have to study a little bit more than you would have to for exams that are closed book, where I could ask more memorization questions. In the projects, we already talked about those. Discussion board posting we did also. I put a time on there also. Some of you may question, well, if I have to post by Wednesday of each week, what time do I need to post by? You will have all of Wednesday also. You need to post by 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday night for the first post, and then by 11:59 on Saturday night for the responses to your classmates. Instructional goals there, you can see what my goals are for the class and the student outcomes. What I'm expecting you guys to hopefully do: identify potential security problems with computer networking systems, design security network systems resistant to attack, determine the source of network security threats, and then demonstrate professionalism in interactions with colleagues, faculty, and staff. Those are the outcomes that I'm hoping you'll be able to achieve in this class, as well as obviously learning a tremendous amount about computer and network security. Okay, that wraps up the introduction for the class. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. Otherwise, I will talk with you guys in our first lecture on our first technical topic in just a second.